Muhammad. If I can request all brothers and sisters to please make your way back to the masjid as we're starting the program. Recite another loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I begin in the name of Allah, the most beneficent and merciful. All praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for blessing us with existence and granting us the opportunity to move towards Him. Respected ulama, dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Tonight we're holding the second majlis of the series of 3 majalis to commemorate the demise of Prophet Muhammad, shahadat of our second Imam, Imam Hasan alayhi salam, and shahadat of our 8th Imam, Imam Ali Rida alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Tonight we'll be discussing and commemorating the shahadat of Imam Ali Rida alayhi salam. These majalis are being addressed by Hujjatul Islam Maulana Mahdi Hazari of North Carolina. Tonight, once again, I offer my sincere condolences to all my brothers and sisters in Iman, especially the Imam of our time, Imam Mahdi al-Hujja Ajjalallahu ta'ala farjahum. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. For the shahadat of our 8th Imam, Imam Ali Rida alayhi salam. I'll start the program by sharing a hadith from our 8th Imam. He who sits in the gathering in which our affairs and our path and aims are discussed and revived, his heart shall not die on the day of judgment when hearts shall die of fear. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us wisdom and understanding to truly understand these words, and may we walk in the path of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, inshallah. Tonight, we'll start the program with the recitation of Salam and Marsiya by our young brother Muhammad and Sajjad Zaidi. This is the first father-son combo. We'll have the recitation by them tonight. We'll start the program with that. Then we'll have a speech by Hujjatul Islam Maulana Mahdi Hazari, and we'll conclude with Matam and Ziyarat, inshallah. Ma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. अज़म ज़ैनब से सकीना से दुआ सीखी है, अज़म ज़ैनब से सकीना से दुआ सीखी है, अली असगर से तबस्सम की अदा सीखी है। करबला से न हटे हैं न हटेंगे हम लोग, करबला से न हटे हैं न हटेंगे हम लोग, हमने अब्बास दिलावर से वफ़ा सीखी है। I now request our young brother Muhammad Sarwar and Sajjad Zaidi bhai to please come forward and offer Pursar Bibi Sayyida Fatima Salamullah Alaiha. Please welcome them with a loud salawat.
Assalamu alaikum. I will be reciting in English Salam, followed by my dad reciting one in Urdu. Then I will finish off with a Marsiya in Urdu. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali.
Oh, the candle of light, the meaning of life, lying on the plains. Oh, you who stood alone, no mercy was shown to you, Ya Hussein. My 2 eyes are fountains of love for you, quenching every lover's heart who cries in pain. I ask you to make me of the chosen أربعين. Take my heart and soul to heaven. On earth angels descend to. I'll knock on the door of your mercy and call your name, Hussein, Mawla, Hussein, Mawla, Hussein. براي مني براية هميم دونا كضاية من أبن فقير تخير كثير أمير حسين ونام الأمير मेरे जाना का मेरे दिल का सहारा तूने दीन बचाया तू है मौला हमारा हुसैन. All of my nights, every day of my life, I'll mourn the one who's a meaning of life. In every trial, you never leave my side. My soul will fly Karbala to your shrine, Hussein, Mawla, Hussein, Mawla, Hussein, Mawla, oh Hussein, Mawla, Hussein, Mawla, Hussein, Mawla. Salawat.
I will recite one salam on the topic of Imam Rida alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. This is in Urdu, but the poet is really talking about and is very sad that Muslims, so-called Muslims, had actually done this kind of zulm to Imam Rida alayhi salam. So please recite a very loud salawat. मशहद में मुसलमाने क्या जुल्म ये ढाया है. मशहद में मुसलमाने क्या जुल्म ये ढाया है. परदेस में मौला को परदेस में मौला को
سمہائے پلایا ہے، مشہد میں مسلمان نے کیا ظلم یہ ڈھایا ہے۔ خون جگر کے قطرے حلقوم سے نکلے تھے، مثل حسن رضا کا دل ہو گیا تھا ٹکڑے، یوں وارث حسن کو، یوں وارث حسن کو ظالم نے ستایا ہے، مشہد میں مسلمان نے کیا ظلم یہ ڈھایا ہے۔ امت نے رسالت کا کیسا اجر دیا ہے، کاظم کے دلارے کو ہائے قتل کر دیا ہے، پھر فاطمہ زہرا کو، پھر فاطمہ زہرا کو مرقد میں رلایا ہے، مشہد میں مسلمانوں کیا ظلم یہ ڈھایا ہے۔ مولا رضا کی بہنیں فریاد کر رہی ہیں، بھیا سے کب ملیں گی یہ رو کے پوچھتی ہیں، صدمہ یہ جدائی کا، صدمہ یہ جدائی کا کیسا اے خدایا ہے، مشہد میں مسلمان نے ہائے ظلم یہ ڈھایا ہے۔ ماں جائے سے بچھڑ کر سر اپنا پیٹتی ہے، مولا رضا کی بہنا رو رو کے کہہ رہی ہے، غم بھائی کی فرقت کا، غم بھائی کی فرقت کا ہم شیر نے پایا ہے، مشہد میں مسلمانوں کیا ظلم یہ ڈھایا ہے۔ رضوان سب جنازہ مل کر اٹھا رہے ہیں، نانا بھی آ گئے ہیں، بابا بھی آ گئے ہیں، ہر سمت سماغم کا، ہر سمت سماغم کا ماحول پہ چھایا ہے، مشہد میں مسلمان نے کیا ظلم یہ ڈھایا ہے۔ درود پڑھیے محمد والے محمد۔
When I'm reciting the chorus, I would request everyone to recite with me. Salawat. Husn for Allah, Abu Abdillah. حسین ثار ابا عبداللہ حسین ثار حسین ثار اے حسین تیرا غم دل پر میرے ہے رقم یا حسین مجھ پر رب کا ہے کرم یا حسین تسبیح ہے دل یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یہ میرا دل نہیں یہ ہے کربلا یہ میرا دل نہیں یہ ہے کربلا غریب کربلا دل کی ہے صدا حسین ثار اللہ حسین ثار اللہ ابا عبد اللہ ابا عبداللہ حسین ثار اللہ ابا عبداللہ حسین ثار اللہ ابا عبداللہ کربلا سامنے مولا کا حرم یا حسین سر پر غازی کا علم ہر قدم مولا مولا یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین ہے میری آرزو میری جستجو ہے میری آرزو میری جستجو ہے میرا آسرا ہے میرا رہنما حسین ثار اللہ حسین ثار اللہ ابا عبداللہ 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 صلوات
Jazakallah, our young brother Muhammad Sarwar and Sajjad Zaidi Bhai. We are accustomed to listening to Sajjad Bhai, but it's really heartwarming to hear Muhammad Sarwar walking in his father's footstep. May Bibi Sayyida Zahra Salamullah Alaiha accept the pursa. For the whole family, Sehat, Salamti, Barakat in this life and hereafter, please recite a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, starting this Sunday, September 17th, Bloomage Non-Profit will be hosting a homework club for any Baitul Ilm youth in need of tutoring in math, English, reading, or any other school subjects after Baitul Ilm Sunday School. If you are interested in registering your child to be tutored, or if you like to tutor, please register on our website. For further information, please go to mybloomage.com. Mahdi Youth will be hosting a discussion tonight after the conclusion of program, after Majlis. The discussion is for our young brothers ages 14 through 28. and it will take place downstairs, as I mentioned, after the conclusion of Majlis, inshallah. The Mahdi Youth of Sisters invites you to join them tomorrow for discussion with Hujjatul Islam, Dr. Mahdi Hazari. If you want to be part of this discussion for our sisters, please register on our website. If you have any questions, please contact Sister Shiza Zahra at shizazahra29@gmail.com. Tonight's Majlis is being sponsored by the family of Brother Sayyid Mukhtar Alam and Sister Afsheen Alam. For this family's sehat, salamti, barakat, sustenance and rizq, please recite a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. They have requested a Surah Fatiha for the Isale Sawab of their family's marhumeen as well as your family's marhumeen, especially for marhum Sayyid Sardar Alam, son of Akhtar Hassan Kazmi, marhuma Narjis Begum, daughter of Sayyid Saeed Murtaza Abidi, and marhum Munis Rizvi and Shah Jahan Begum, recited a Surah Mubarakah Fatiha preceded by a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Tonight, once again, we're honored to host Hujjatul Islam, Maulana Dr. Mahdi Hazari of North Carolina. So without further ado, I would like to request him to please come forward and address the Majlis. Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat.
Although I think he's already said Hujjatul Islam, Maulana, Dr. Mahdi Hazari, maybe one too many times tonight already. So if you don't say it tomorrow, that's okay. We'll skip it. Just say the guy from the last 2 nights and we're done. They all know who you're talking about. Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك المعصومين الأبرار الميامين المظلومين المضطهدين. السلام عليك وعلى ولدك المظلوم أبي عبد الله الحسين. يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة، يا غريب يا مظلوم يا عطشان كربلاء، ما خاب والله من تمسك بكم، أمن من لجأ والتجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا فيا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تلك الدار الآخرة نجعلها للذين لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا والعاقبة للمتقين آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. My dear brothers and sisters, yesterday we talked about belief and morality. That for belief to have a significance in our life, and indeed I will try to address hopefully some aspects of why it is that we don't adhere to belief in the way that we should. And for that very reason, Allah distinguishes those who have high status in His eyes and those who may not reach the loftiest levels that they possibly can reach. And we established that for a person to have morality, they must have belief at the same time. Why? Because goodness is ingrained in human beings. It is a fitrah of insan that you should see something that is ugly in front of your eyes and you can automatically recognize it as ugly. The killing of an innocent life, any human being should be able to see that, and you do not have to have belief in God necessarily or a system or a religion to recognize that the killing is supremacy, meaning the one who originated all creation and gave it order, you are able to apply that morality with robustness. Meaning it doesn't matter the circumstance in which you are, you know that His wisdom has encompassed it completely. So that when you cannot understand the consequences of where society is going or why something is occurring or the chain of events that are in front of you, because you have limited knowledge, limited experience, limited vision, you rely on the one who sees everything. That trust is Iman. And that trust is what we have to inculcate into our children. That Islam is about understanding, Islam is about knowledge, it's about rationalism, it's about reasoning, but it begins with the step of belief. And that belief recognizes the distinction between what is moral and immoral. And the dear brother asked me this very interesting question. That when the ayah compares and says that Allah has endeared belief in your heart and He has made it an ornament for you, and on the other hand, He has made it detestable and hated that you should participate in kufr or you should do kufr, denial, you should do fusq or fusuq, and asyan. Fusuq meaning corruption, immorality, asyan meaning disobedience. The question, very poignant and insightful question, why the two? Why corruption and also at the same time disobedience? Is fusuq not disobedience? Indeed it is. Disobedience means any transgression of God's law, any transgression of what He has considered to be within a limit that is assigned for insan. But fusuq, when you say someone is fasiq, it means they have accepted something to be the truth, and knowing that it is the truth, they have gone against it. And worse still, they have openly broken the rules. So you can see, that's why when you have salat, if the person leading the salat is a fasiq, can you pray behind them? You cannot pray behind a fasiq. It's not allowed. If you know someone is openly transgressing the laws of God, you cannot pray behind that person. It's not allowed. So fusuq is a high level of transgression. Whereas even when you come to disobedience, disobedience of God can be secretly in the back. No? So you see how the verse of the Quran, it encompasses everything. And it says Iman is one side, and on the opposite, juxtaposed to it is kufr, fusuq, and asyan. Now, in the course of this, when you apply this to each individual by themselves, it is a relatively straightforward act, isn't it? That if I have to account for myself, it is a fairly straightforward thing for me to do, to say this is allowed, this is not allowed, right? To apply that to me, if I lived up in a cave, do you have caves here in Chicago? Any caves? And in North Carolina, no caves, right? Come to North Carolina. We have lots of mountains. It's very green, hilly, much more beautiful than Chicago. You guys will never invite me back, no? I'll ask you this question in January, okay? When it's 70 degrees over there and here, we won't even mention how cold it is, okay? We'll keep that closed. If I lived up in a cave by myself and I have to apply the laws of Allah to myself, how hard is it? Not hard at all. There's no temptation. I know I have to pray 5 times a day. I have to eat halal. I have to give my zakat, my khums. I have to do hajj. There's no one there to make me angry, okay? No one there to tempt me. I live my life purely, don't transgress the laws. But do we live this way? No, we live side by side with people. We have to, no? Not only do we have to live side by people, but Allah has said in the Quran, it's a test for you. It's an imtihan, that if you're going to live side by side with people, recognize the fact that you may believe something and the one next to you doesn't believe that same thing. Or you both believe the same thing, but the application of that belief is different. Have we ever considered that? And we see that in so many of our societies today, unfortunately. Here in the United States, just look in the United States, how many communities have we had? MashaAllah, you are very good in Chicago, but I visit many communities where there was one center 20 years ago, now there are 5. And the divisions are not amicable. They are not because we love each other and we just want to have more centers. It is because there are disagreements. But if you ask all the people in those centers, who do they believe in? They believe in Allah. They believe in Rasulullah. They believe in the wilayah of Ali ibn Abi Talib. They cry in the days of Azah of Muharram. But no, the opinions and the viewpoints are so starkly different. Is it not? So belief in itself is not a core guarantee that people are going to agree. Now imagine the task on Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. How hard it is to distinguish action of one from action of another. And notice I said action, nothing else, action. So Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wa salam, he says, Tasfiyatul amal ashaddu min al-amal. He says making an action pure is harder than doing the action itself. Making the action pure is harder than actually doing the action. Look, it's a strange thing he says. And he says, تخليص النية من الفساد أشد على العاملين من طول الجهاد. He says, taking the niyyah, your intention, and making it sincere is the hardest act for them. The action that people see on the outside may not be what is on the inside. What is happening, particularly in society, is not what is on the inside of people. We don't know what people are walking around thinking. We don't know what is the motivation behind what they do. I myself, I can say that from one moment to the next, I stand up for salat. In my moment of pain and suffering and trial and difficulty, I will pray with the greatest of sincerity and love of God. But when life is comfortable and everything is good in my life, everything is given, my salat is, I've clocked it, it's like 1.5 or 1.25 minutes shorter than if it is when I have pain. Why? Because when things are comfortable, who needs the salat? Who needs to pray? So me, myself, I don't know what is inside of me. And the disconnect between what is inside of me, what I believe, what I hold to be sacred, and what I am actually doing, the action itself. Now imagine, again, I come to the point that you are the Prophet of Islam and you have to build this nation with people of this kind. Now I mentioned to you that he came, he arrived into Medina, and the strange thing about the people of Medina is that the people of Medina, unlike the people of Mecca, were maybe a little more simple in their thinking. Meaning they were not as affluent, they did not have as much money, they did not have this big house where people would come for pilgrimage. Even pre-Islam, people came to Mecca because the house that was built by Ibrahim alayhi salam was a sacred symbol for even the pagan worshippers. Hence they had filled it up with their idols. And yet, now in Medina, Rasulullah has to build a nation. Now as he builds a nation, he has to establish one, I told you yesterday, that leave off the worship of everything other than Allah. Begin there. That is the first step. That is not just the actual idol, the physical incarnation of this statue that is in front of you, but any idol. If you worship your own self, let go of that. Worship Allah. And once you have commenced on the path of worship of one Allah, the next step has to be morality. Fulfillment of the right of God and morality. Don't cheat, don't kill, don't rob the orphan, etc. All the things that are necessary. Now, how does that happen? You come into society, each individual by themselves practices. I already gave the example that if I live in a cave, practice is fine. But eventually I have to leave my house and go and meet people. I have to build a system or be part of a system that is working for the mutual benefit of everybody. And that's what the society of Medina was. So if you see Medina, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, he comes, he institutes the charter of Medina, the constitution. He says, everyone who is going to be in Medina, who is in agreement, the Aus, the Khazraj, later on the Banu Nadir and the Banu Qurayza, the two Jewish tribes, they came. And they even said, you have made this constitution, this charter with the Aus and the Khazraj and the people of Medina, we also want to be a part of it. Why? Because they saw that there was mutual benefit. Society had a charter by which everyone worked together. Now, were they all Muslim? No, they were not all Muslim. Yes, it was a Muslim nation. The laws of the city itself, this blooming nation that was now going to be the Muslim Ummah, was based on the tenets of Islam. But you had Jews living there. No, you had Christians living there. And they were allowed the freedom of practice of their religion, judgment by their book and their law, as long as they abided by the charter. And what did the charter say? The charter said everyone has a right to their property, everyone will be respected, everyone's religion will be practiced as long as it does not hamper and impose on Islam in any way. And more importantly, that everyone together will defend what is this community or what is this nation of Medina against any assault. So not just Muslims, but the Jews as well, the Christians as well, anyone who has signed the charter. Cooperation and what would be considered social responsibility. So social responsibility is what? It's basically me saying that I want to partner with you, or we're going to partner together. Why? Because we want to uphold certain morals. That's all it is. It's cooperation on morality to ensure that everyone gets what they need and that society is balanced. Is that not society today? We don't do this today? This is society today. Today, any society you go to, secular society, Western, Eastern, Muslim society, any society, what are people doing? They're working together on a set of moral codes or moral rules that they want to apply together and build a just place where they can all live and they can all benefit. Now, how does that happen? How do you establish the social actions of people? Well, there are different ways. One is, it can be based on sanctity, okay? So someone will consider that every human life is sacred. And so the society will be built such that no human life should be violated. Very easy. It's socially responsible to preserve the sanctity of every life. Number two, it could be due to authority, my dear brothers and sisters. Social responsibility could be a tyrant coming and saying, you go clean the streets, you're going to pick up the garbage, you have to administer medical services, etc. Could be based on authority. It could be based on a feeling of fairness, where today, and I'm saying all of this to you, imagine as I am telling you these things, that where we live today, not just the US, but any country in the world, how does it implement social responsibility? Through these mechanisms that I'm describing? And if so, is it implementing them properly? So the third thing, it could be due to fairness. I feel a social responsibility in my society because I feel a sense of fairness, that if God has given me the opportunity to be educated, I should give someone else the right to be educated as well. Shouldn't it? It's fair. And if that is violated, then that's something that is ugly to me. If I have opportunity and access to health care, I should ensure that my neighbor does too, and that he's not lying in his bed dying of some terminal disease without access to health care, while I'm sitting healthy and I've been treated properly in the hospital. All of these things are things that have to be considered when it comes to social responsibility. The other thing you see amongst human beings is a sense of almost tribalism, all right? So today, and I will say this quite honestly and bluntly to all of you, I don't know if I'm sure you all remember back a year ago, little over a year ago, that there was that killing in New Mexico. Remember the killing in New Mexico? See how quickly we've forgotten about it? Where the Shias were killed by a man, and there was a big uproar about this. What did we do? The Shias all rallied around, right? Why? Because it was a Shia man who was killed. Unfortunately, how much support did we get? I hate to say this, I hate to be blunt about this. I was asked to come and do a roundtable discussion, and it was very nice by the organizers. I give them full credit. I'm not criticizing anyone. But the comment that I made was, why is it that we are having to reach our hand when we are the ones who have been oppressed? Well, because we're not considered as part of the whole. We are Muslim, it's just that we are Shia Muslim. And so we are considered a separate part. Now, if that had happened to someone from the Amma, from the Sunni Muslims, what sort of uproar would it have been? If it was a Shia killing a Sunni, what difference would there have been in the response? You just imagine. Would there have not have been a change in thinking and approach, and how many people decry the violence and the crime that had been committed? Of course there would have been. We would be lying to ourselves if we didn't say otherwise. Why? Because insan, even in the implementation of social responsibility and duty in society, still thinks tribally. I think my group, no? And I ask you that we should look at ourselves. Let's not blame anyone else. Let's look at ourselves, that tomorrow if a synagogue is desecrated with swastikas, or they go and they decimate a Jewish graveyard, will we go stand next to them? We will not, because they're Jews. Right? Is that right? Should we be so siloed? Should we be so insular in our approach? No, my dear brothers and sisters, injustice is injustice. Ugliness is ugliness. Hatred is not allowed in Islam. It is not accepted by anyone towards Muslims, and is not accepted towards any other group of people, non-Muslim or otherwise. Hatred is ugly. Allah has decried it. He's denounced it. So we have to ask ourselves, but you see that this is the state of affairs, is it not? It is the state of affairs. And the same goes for harm, that today, if harm is done to a Muslim or to a Shi'i, we will be in an uproar. But if the harm is done to a Catholic immigrant from somewhere, we remain silent. We stay silent completely. And I ask you the question, that is this the ethos of Rasulullah? This is the philosophy of Ahl al-Bayt? It is not, but it is what is happening. And so my question to you tonight, just like I asked last night, that is morality required for belief in society? As long as people are fulfilling their social responsibility and their duty, does it matter if they're moral or not? Does it? Well, again, the answer to me at least is no. Because they're fulfilling what they're supposed to in society. As long as they're not committing crimes, they're not harming anyone, they're respecting the rights of other people, who cares if they're moral people or not? They're following a code, a law, are they not? And that's why you see the challenge that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam was facing. Now you see that it's very difficult to deal with these issues. Why? Because again, just because someone is following the laws doesn't mean they're moral. Even if you warn them, sometimes they don't listen. Let me give you an example, and I'm sure you've heard this. You've heard the story of Samara ibn Jundub. Samara ibn Jundub was one of the residents of Medina, Muslim. He had a property, he had a neighbor. Part of his property was on the other side of his neighbor's land. He had a tree there. So what Samara would do, he will walk through his neighbor's property to get to his land, to sit next to his tree. So the neighbor, he told him, he said, look, I recognize that that's your land, but you're crossing through my land. The ladies of my house may be sitting there without cover. That's not appropriate. You should at least ask me or take permission or arrange a time that you can go, that I make sure that nobody is there. He doesn't listen, he keeps going. So the neighbor, he goes to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. And he says to him, he says, Ya Rasulullah, this neighbor of mine, he keeps cutting through my property to get to his land that's on the other side, to sit next to his tree. Rasulullah, he calls him. He says to Samra, he says, look, stop doing this. It's not appropriate for you to cut through the property of your neighbor to get to your tree. Samra, he says, no, that's my tree, I want it. That's where I like to go sit. So Rasulullah, he says, look, I'll buy it from you. I'll buy it from you. Sell it to me, I'll buy it from you, then it'll be taken care of. I'll give you a good price. He says, no, I don't want. I don't want to sell it. Rasulullah then he says to him, are you going to continue to walk through the neighbor's land to get to your tree? The neighbor, he says, the Sumra, he says, yes, this is my right. If my land is there, I will choose any path I want to get to my land. Rasul, he says, okay, you don't want to sell me the tree. Sell it and I will give you a better tree in Jannah. Ya Allah. Rasulullah is giving this to him. He says, I will sell it to you, I will buy it and I will give you in return for your tree a tree in Jannah, a plot in Jannah. Ya Allah. Sumra, he says, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. Now I'm saying this to you, he's a Muslim, okay? Forget about Iman. I don't want to even guess on the Iman of this individual. He's a Muslim. Rasul is promising him a tree in Jannah. Who wouldn't take that deal? Take it in a heartbeat. He doesn't. He insists that I'm going to keep walking through my neighbor's plot. Rasulullah calls some men. He says, go cut the tree down and throw it in his land. Go cut the tree down. Why? Because you are not allowed to inflict pain on somebody else. You cannot cause trouble to somebody else. La darar wa la dirar. It is a principle of Islam. You are not allowed to cause harm on somebody else. So it is not permissible for you to do that. Look, because again, you cannot impose morality on people. You cannot force people to feel what is good and what is bad. And that is morality. Morality is to determine what is good versus what is bad. Now the acting upon it, that is a whole nother thing. And the strange thing is that we as a creature, we don't understand what motivates us when it comes to being in society and being moral, okay? We assume that what we are doing is promoting the values that we think Allah wants us to promote. That we don't recognize the disconnect. Let me ask kind of a controversial question, okay? Don't throw anything at me, okay? How many of you have ever beaten your children or beat your children today? Didn't expect me to ask that question, did you? I ask because why do we do it? Why do we do it? One, it's not allowed. It's not allowed in Islam to beat your child. The only one who has a right to beat the child is the father, and that too only under certain extreme circumstances. It's generally not allowed, okay? But why do we do it? Well, hopefully it's not because of anger, but if it is for discipline purposes, you've disciplined the child. You've scared the child sufficiently. Have you inculcated morality into that child? You've put morality into them? You've taught them what it is to do right and not to do wrong? No, all you have done is created fear. You've not created any sense of what is right and what is wrong, what is haqq, what is batil, what is proper and what is improper, what is just, what is unjust. All you have done is scared the child. And the data shows, the research shows, that corporal punishment doesn't work on children. It doesn't teach them morality. All it does, it puts trauma inside of them. Let's take another example. What about capital punishment? Short of execution. Yes, I'm not saying that Islam's laws are wrong. Please don't take me wrong. Allah's law is Allah's law. It is a deterrent. It's meant to be a deterrent. It's meant to keep society safe and pure away from all the things that can cause corruption. My question is, does it teach morality? Does it instill morality? And I think you would agree that in most cases it probably does not. Sending a person to prison doesn't teach them what is right, what is wrong. Yes? All it does is it inflicts punishment on them. It makes them scared that they won't commit the crime again or the infraction again. So that's why you have to consider very deeply that morality and what is considered to be social responsibility are not always the same thing. And that in society you have to cultivate morality while you are simultaneously being responsible and following the code. That's what Rasulullah was doing. He didn't just come and say, this is the law and you have to follow it. Indeed, he did say this is the law and you have to follow it, but at the same time, he's sowing the roots of what is morality. That it's not just about following the rules, it's about knowing why the rules are good and bad, what causes it. And we are shaped, unfortunately, in our life by so many different things, okay? So many different things. Let me give you an example. They did a study of, and I know some of you get tired of hearing about these studies, but I find them fascinating, to be honest. They did a study of daycare center. And this daycare center basically went from 8 in the morning till 3 p.m. At 3 p.m., you go and you pick up your children, right? And usually they'll say, well, pickup time is between 3 and 3:15, you come. Now, what they were noticing, this daycare center, was that many parents were coming late, okay? People work, people have responsibilities. They're trying to make it there, those are their children, right? You wanna go pick up your children, you wanna get them home, you don't wanna place the responsibility of your child on somebody else, so you're trying to get there, but oftentimes you're late. So this daycare center got tired of people showing up late. What did they do? They said, we're going to change the rule. From now on, if you are late, you're going to get charged money. You're going to get charged money. You will be allowed 3 late every quarter or every semester, something like that, every year. After that, you will be charged money. $10, $15, whatever it was, you will be charged. When they went back and tracked after the implementation of this new rule at the daycare center, what do you think they found? That the number of late people coming to pick up their parents decreased. Yes? No. The exact opposite. It went up. More people were showing up late. More people started showing up late. So they were curious. They said, well, why is that? That's so counterintuitive. Because you would think, now you're charging them, you're threatening them with this punishment, they should all be showing up on time. Nobody wants to pay money, a fee to pick up their child. But when they went in and dug down into the responses of the people and why this is happening, they realized that before the fee, before this rule was implemented, people felt a moral obligation to go pick up their child. That's their child. The minute they put this fee, what did it become? It became a cost. It became a financial issue. And they thought to themselves, well, who cares? I can afford an extra $50 a month. I'll just pay it and I'll be late. Who cares about the morality of it? It no longer became a moral issue. It was about money. It became a transaction. And now what are people doing? People are looking at the cost benefit of it now, right? And what do you think morality comes down to? Morality in the end is not about good and bad. When you translate that to social responsibility, it's about what is potentially harmful on me and where can I benefit. I am doing that on a moment-to-moment basis. I am trying to gauge what is my benefit and what is my harm. And how quickly an act, what is considered to be moral, suddenly becomes about cost-benefit analysis. No? And we're doing that constantly. And how quickly your mind switches from what I should be doing is my duty to go pick up my child and not put him on someone else or her on someone else, and instead now it's just, let me just pay the money, who cares? This is insan. Insan is this way. Insan is a strange creature that our minds switch from what we consider to be good and bad and what now is considered to be morally acceptable, yes? Or what is considered to be allowed socially. They did a similar thing. Now, in Ireland, the Irish people, mashallah, they're strong people. They're also good defenders of the Shia and the Muslims. So the Irish people, they said, okay, look, we're destroying the earth. And I, as an environmental scientist, love this. They said, we need to reduce the usage of plastic bags. Let's stop, okay? We're going to reduce the usage of plastic bags. We're going to encourage every Irish person to use the reusable bag, the cloth bags, all right? And not only are we going to do that, we're going to have a national mandate on it to do that. Now, when they did that, what did they find? They found that most people started using cloth bags. They stopped using plastic. And what they realized was, yes, people wanted the good sense, the morality of saving the earth, preserving the environment, not dumping plastic into the ground. But do you know what else was a driver of their so-called morality? The fact that if they go to the grocery store and everyone is walking up with a cloth bag, they felt embarrassed in front of everybody else to use a plastic bag. It was not entirely about saving the earth and being environmentally conscious. It was that the whole world is watching them using a plastic bag while they're using cloth bags. See, again, what could be a moral thing now just becomes about what the world sees. We don't act this way with our morality when we are in society. I am afraid to live my morality because everyone around me, their moral expression is different from mine. Is it not? We see that today, where we live. That what I consider to be sacred is not sacred to you. What I consider to be within the bounds of right and wrong is outside the bound for you, or vice versa. And because I'm too embarrassed to hold on to my morality and hold on to what I consider to be as properly socially responsible, I'm going to compromise that because I want to fit in with you. And why am I telling you all of this? Because this is the navigation of Rasulullah's mission. Now let's come back to his mission. And I have mentioned this ayah many times over the last few weeks, and I feel I remind myself through it. That even leave the Jewish tribes aside, the Christian tribes aside, anyone else aside, just take the Muslim nation. What is our assumption? Is that it's a monolith, that it's considered to be homogeneous in terms of those who believe, meaning those who believe really believe. But I told you about a man named Abdullah ibn Ubay, who was a big munafiq, big hypocrite. You even forget about those who were believing. Were they all at the same station? No, they were not all at the same station. Let me give you an example. After the Battle of Uhud, what happened? The Battle of Uhud finished. The Muslim soldiers are coming back. They have been defeated. It was a defeat. It was a shattering of their confidence. Now imagine in Badr, you have gone out to Badr, Allah has sent His support, the angels have come down, and you have walloped the enemy. In fact, even the riwayat, they say that Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, he vanquished half of their soldiers in Badr. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So imagine the confidence level of the Muslims going out to Uhud. And now, because of disobedience of Rasulullah, which indeed is disobedience of God, no? You have been handed a defeat, you are coming back, but now people are advising Abu Sufyan that don't leave them, go finish them off. Now, if you've handed a defeat to your enemy, they're still limping back to their homes, would you not go back and finish them off? Yes, it makes sense from a warfare perspective. Go finish them, they're broken. So Abu Sufyan starts to gather his men. In the meantime, Rasulullah is very smart. He has sentries who are all along the perimeter of Medina, who are gathering information. They come back, they say, Ya Rasulullah, the kuffar of Quraysh are getting ready to strike again. They're coming back to get us. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, he calls the men, he says, be prepared to fight. We are going out to a place called Hamra al-Asad. Hamra al-Asad is not far from where Medina is, close to where Uhud was. He says, we will go there. Rasulullah, very intelligent, very smart, so wise. He says, go and in the middle of the night, light fires in the desert all across the horizon. Up on the mountain, down in the valley, all light up fires. Why, Ya Rasulullah? So that the enemy can see that we are spread out and that our army is actually bigger than what it actually is. The army is bigger, they will assume, much bigger than what it actually is. Look at his intelligence. Now, the men come out. You tell me, after facing such a defeat at Uhud, how keen are they to go out and fight? Your Prophet has told you, we are fighting against injustice, we are fighting against kufr, we are fighting against corruption, we are fighting against immorality, all of those things we are going to fight. How many of them have a desire to go out and fight after Uhud has just occurred? The ayah will tell you. It says, الَّذِينَ اسْتَجَابُوا لِلَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا أَصَابَهُمُ الْقَرْحِ. There were some who answered Allah and His Rasul after injury had come to their body. They had been hurt. This what happened to them in Uhud. Physically they had been hurt. Wound upon wound, suffering, etc., loss of life, etc. Now it doesn't stop. It says, لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا مِنْهُمْ وَاتَّقَوْا أَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ. There are some amongst them who have done ihsan. Not all, not all. It says, لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا مِنْهُمْ. There are some amongst them who raised their level of ihsan, of goodness. And they were fearful, they were pious, they were fearful of God. Allah will give them a great ajr, a great reward. Now, were they not all mu'min? They had just fought in the battle of Uhud. They had just given their blood, their sweat, their effort for Islam. Why is Allah singling out a certain group of them who is even higher? Because even amongst the believers, they are not the same. Forget about belief. Acting on what is good versus evil is not the same. Is it not? It is very different. That's why you see in society, again I say this to you, that what Rasulullah built was not just cooperation on establishing good morals, what is right, what is wrong, denying corruption, rooting it out and getting rid of it for everybody's benefit, but also sowing in morality. Sowing in morality. And realizing that the vast majority of people may not see good and bad the way you do. It doesn't matter if they call themselves Muslim or Shia or this or that. Good and bad comes from Allah. And to hold on to it is something that we have to do very, very strongly, my dear brothers and sisters. And this is the fight of Rasulullah, the struggle of Rasulullah. That when he builds this nation of Islam, he does so recognizing each person's value, each person's contributions, what each person gives to society. But in addition to that, those who absolutely are the ones who represent good morality. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam, same thing. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Now let's look again at Sumra ibn Jundub. Sumra ibn Jundub, he was appointed as the governor of Basra by Ziyad ibn Abi. And by who? Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. So you see this personality who wanted to go sit next to his tree, he didn't disappear. He remained there. In fact, some people even say, some history recounts that it was Imam Ali alayhi salam who put him into Basra. I don't know if that is factually accurate, but let's say if it was factually accurate, that Imam Ali alayhi salam did put him there. Is that a fault against Imam Ali? No, because Imam Ali had put governors in place who were not proper, and he removed them. There were many of his governors who judges as well, like Shuraih. If you see his letter to Shuraih, people who he scolded, that I have placed you in this position, you are in this position, but you are not fulfilling what you're supposed to. You're not doing what you are supposed to do. Sumra ibn Jundub, you see that he was in Basra, and he was placed there at the hands of a man named Ziyad ibn Abi. For those who know Ziyad ibn Abi, who is his son? Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. You see these people, who they are. And we know that Sumra ibn Jundub was very harsh with the followers of Ali ibn Abi Talib. So it doesn't matter how much of society he was living in with Rasulullah's time. He is from the time of Rasulullah. As is Muawiyah la'natullahi alayh. As are those other people who have claimed belief, but what? On the inside is something different. And that's why, what does the Holy Quran say? Ya ayyuha rasul la yahzunka alladhina yusari'una fil kufr. Don't be sad about them, Ya Rasul. They are racing towards disbelief. And even if they are racing towards belief, you know that they're saying from their mouths what is not in their heart. Same disconnect that you see. It doesn't matter what's happening in society. What's inside is corrupt. And that, the culmination of that, it comes out, it explodes, is Karbala. And you see in society, this is the case everywhere, everywhere. My dear brothers and sisters, scan history. Scan history. Whether it's the American Revolution, whether it's the French Revolution, whether it's the Russian Revolution. The Russian Revolution, many, many examples inside of it. of deep corruption inside society, deep hegemony of power, resources, and suddenly it explodes. It's human nature. You can take corruption only so long. Doesn't matter how orderly society is. If it is not built on proper morals, eventually it will decay to a point where something has to happen. That is Karbala. That is Karbala's statement, Imam Husayn's statement, that no matter what, something will come that will spark the flame that will reveal the corruption that is there. That is Al-Husayn ibn Ali. And you see our Imams, that's why I ask you, our Imams, Imam Rida alayhi salatu wassalam, we are here to remember him, salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. When he was called by Ma'mun al-Abbasi up to Khurasan, up to Persia, what did Ma'mun say to him? That become my successor. Now I ask you, why did Imam not just say, I'll take it? And then what I will do is I will implement the code of my grandfather, Rasulullah. No? Why step back? And every Imam after Imam Hussein, no? Every Imam after Imam Hussein stepped back. Did they not? Which Imam went forward and said, even Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, Imam Sadiq, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, when he was approached by Abu Salma Khallal, right? At that moment, Banu Umayyah was weak. Banu Abbas, what did they do? They came to Imam Sadiq. And in fact, it was his cousin. It was his cousin who was the grandson of Imam Hasan. Abdullah ibn al-Hasan ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. Yes, great-grandson of Imam Ali, the grandson of Imam Hasan. He comes to Imam Sadiq. He says, my cousin, support me. We will join hands with the Banu Abbas. When they overthrow the Banu Umayyah, we will be assigned as the rightful position because we are the children of Rasulullah. Imam Sadiq, what did he say to him? When the letter came proposing this, the messenger brought the letter. He brought the letter in front of Imam Sadiq. One of the other letters was given to another man who they were trying to get support from. The letter went, he opened up the letter, he saw it, he said, yes, this is a great plan, I'm on board, finally I will get recognized. That same letter was brought to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, the messenger standing there, he gives him the letter. The messenger is waiting, because in those days the person will read the letter and give an answer immediately, and the messenger will take it back to whoever who sent the letter. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is waiting there, the messenger is standing, he gives him the letter, he takes the letter, doesn't open it, burns it in the fire. Doesn't even open it. The messenger, he says, I'm waiting for your answer. He says, this is my answer, take it back. When Abdullah ibn al-Hasan comes and asks him, what happened? He says, they will never, Banu Abbas will never support you. They will never support you. They will never give you what you think you are going to get from them. He pulled back. Imagine. Why? Because the power of teaching morality doesn't matter who has power outside. When you teach morality inside to people who, even if in society they have no control, they have no influence, that will persist. Society will fall, that morality will stay. That is Ahl al-Bayt. They never had the power. They never moved society this way or that way or directed people in some position. They taught morality in such a way and said, let the centuries go by, let the years go by, let the world change, let society shift, let the waves come and crash on the head. The morality of Ahl al-Bayt will stay. Because we have sown it deep into our followers. Deep into our followers. Huh? That is the legacy. So Imam Rida alayhi salam, when Ma'mun says to him that, look, become the heir apparent, Imam Rida, he says no. He keeps forcing him, he keeps forcing him. Imam Rida alayhi salam, he says, fine, but I have conditions. One, you will not ask me to judge, I will not judge anybody. You will not ask me to govern, you will not ask me to execute, you will not ask me to do anything. It is a figurative position. You are forcing me, I'm taking it figuratively only. Look how smart Imam is. Look. He could not have said, let me take it and I will change the landscape. He could have. No. He could have. But there was a greater purpose. And you may ask yourself, why am I saying this? Because my dear brothers and sisters, we live in a society where people may not share our morals. Yes, on big things like killing the innocent life, robbing from the orphan, etc. we believe. But do we agree on everything? No, we don't. And that's fine. As long as society is orderly and we have rights, which we do, we stand for what we believe in, and our morals emanate from that belief. Now Imam Rida alayhi salam was not going to be left. The Rawi, he describes, it's reported that one day Harthama ibn A'yun, he is a servant in the Abbasi palace, but secretly he loved Ahl al-Bayt. Harthama, he comes to Imam Rida, Imam Rida alayhi salam, he says to him, my friend, very soon I will be called back. He says, Ma'mun will not allow me to remain. He will give me some grapes and some pomegranate, and it will have poison inside of it. It's reported Imam Rida, he says to him that, look, when the time comes and I reach this state and the ruh leaves the body, he says, Ma'mun is going to come to you. He's going to want to wash my body, put the kafan and bury me. He says, you stay with me, and when he tries to do that, tell him no. Insist. And say that it was my request that you take me to your home, to where you are. When that happens, set up a tent near your house and place me in there, and then just leave. You don't have to do anything. He says, when that happens, rest assured that somebody is going to come, and they are going to wash me, and they're going to prepare me, and they are going to bury me. It does not need to rest on anybody. And even the Rawi, he says that on the day that Imam Rida alayhi salatu wassalam died, he was lying on his bed after he had eaten the grapes, the poison. He said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. When he's lying on his bed, my dear brothers and sisters, they say nobody was eating in the house. Imam Rida alayhi salam was sick. Poison is in his body. The blood is coming out from his mouth, as they say about Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba. Same thing, huh? About Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba, they say when he was lying on the bed, the companion had put a pan, like a bucket, next to his bed, and he will throw up blood into that. His insides were being dissolved by the poison. Imam Rida the same, as the poison is taking him, the color of his skin is becoming yellow. He's not eating or drinking. They say the people of his house, nobody was eating or drinking out of pain for him. So he calls somebody. He says, bring my family, bring everybody. Everybody comes. He says, let me arrange food for you. Why are you not eating? It is only an imam who in his last moment is thinking about everybody else. This is the legacy of Ali ibn Abi Talib, who when he was dying, there was a line of orphans outside of his door. The father of the nation, the caretaker, the guide of the nation. Imam Rida the same. They say in those last moments, Imam Rida alayhi salam, it's reported someone comes and the bed of Imam Rida is empty. He's not lying there. He's sick. The poison is taking him. He's lying on the dirt, on the ground. The companion, he comes, he says, Yabna Rasulillah, the time has come very near. In these last moments, why have you left your bed to lie on the dirt, in the ground? Imam Rida, he says to him, my companion, how can I lie on the bed in my last moments as the ruh is preparing to leave the body? How can I lie on this bed when my grandfather Al-Husayn was on the ground of Karbala? Aywa Husayna. Always the thought of the Imams going to that grandfather, that gharib, that Huryan ala ardi Karbala, the one whose body was left bila kafan, the one whose body was left without a cover, without a kafan on the ground of Karbala. Surely كأني بسيدي ومولاي, his thought must have been that as I lie on my bed and my family surrounds me, I have my loved ones holding my hand in this last moment. who was on the body of my grandfather Al-Husayn, who was sitting on the chest of Al-Husayn. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك ونقسم عليك بحق الزهراء وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها لعن الله ظالميها. اللهم شافي كل مريض، اللهم رد كل غريب، اللهم فك كل أسير، اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك يا كريم. اللهم وفقنا لمراضيك وجنبنا معاصيك وثبت أقدامنا على صراطك المستقيم وخذ بأيدينا إليك يا أرحم الراحمين. وفرج عنا يا الله فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر وهو أقرب من ذلك. وافرغ علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.
حسین یا حسین حیا علی خیر العمل حیا علی خیر العمل حیا علی خیر العمل حیا علی خیر العمل حیا علی خیر العمل. شاباش. حیا علی خیر العمل یا حسین یا حسین. حیا علی خیر العمل حیا علی خیر العمل حیا علی خیر العمل حیا علی خیر العمل یا حسین. یا حسین. مظلوم بے وطن یہ میرا مولا رضا ہے. 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 ہائے جس کو زہر لوگوں مسلمان نے دیا ہے. مظلوم بے وطن یہ میرا مولا رضا ہے. مظلوم بے وطن یہ میرا مولا رضا ہے. ہائے جس کو زہر لوگوں مسلمان نے دیا ہے. مظلوم بے وطن یہ میرا مولا رضا ہے. اے مظلوم بے وطن یہ میرا مولا رضا ہے. سب آنکھیں کرو بند دعائی ہے دعائی. ایک بی بی عزادارو یہاں شام سے آئی. لپٹی ہے جنازے سے سے نہیں سر پہ ردا ہے. مظلوم بے وطن یہ میرا مولا رضا ہے. اے مظلوم بے وطن سب آنکھیں کرو بند دہائی ہے دہائی. ایک بی بی عزادارو یہاں شام سے آئی. لپٹی ہے جنازے سے نہیں سر پہ ردا ہے. مظلوم بے وطن یہ میرا مولا رضا ہے. اے مظلوم بے وطن ہے جس کو زہر لوگوں مسلمان نے دیا ہے. مظلوم بے وطن یہ میرا مولا اے مظلوم بے وطن آئے ہیں جنازے پہ نبی شاہ امم بھی. کلثوم رقیہ بھی ہے معصومہ قم بھی. وہ بی بی ہے کربل میں جلی جس کی ابا ہے. مظلوم بے وطن اے مظلوم بے وطن آئے ہیں جنازے پہ نبی شاہ امم بھی. کلثوم رقیہ بھی ہے معصومہ قم بھی. وہ بی بی ہے کربل میں جلی جس کی ابا ہے. مظلوم بے وطن اے مظلوم بے وطن ہے جس کو زہر لوگوں مسلمان نے دیا ہے. مظلوم بے وطن ہے مظلوم بے وطن مامون عباسی کی عنایت ہے یہ لوگوں. ہائے آل پیغمبر سے عداوت ہے یہ لوگوں. سیدوں پہ ذرا دے کوئی امت کی وفا ہے. مظلوم بے اے مظلوم بے وطن مامون عباسی کی عنایت ہے یہ لوگوں. ہائے آل پیغمبر سے عداوت ہے یہ لوگوں. سیدوں پہ ذرا دے کوئی امت کی وفا ہے. مظلوم بے وطن شاباش اے مظلوم بے وطن ہے جس کو زہر لوگوں مسلمان نے دیا ہے. مظلوم بے وطن ہے مظلوم بے وطن روتے ہیں فرشتے بھی زمین اور زماں بھی. ہائے لوح قلم عرش بری کون و مکان بھی. خیر النساء کے لال کے ماتم کی صدا ہے مظلوم بے وطن اے مظلوم بے وطن روتے ہیں فرشتے بھی زمین اور زماں بھی ہائے لو قلم عرش بری کون و مکاں بھی خیر النساء کے لال کے ماتم کی صدا ہے مظلوم بے وطن یہ میرا مولا رضا ہے مظلوم بے وطن یہ میرا مولا رضا ہے ہائے جس کو زہر لو گو مسلمان نے دیا ہے مظلوم بے وطن یہ میرا مولا رضا ہے مظلوم بے وطن یہ میرا مولا رضا ہے یا حسین 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 یا حسین
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآلہ
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وحبيبك وصفيك ونبيك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك وعلى علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين وعلى الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين وعلى سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي الشباب أهل الجنة ورحمة الله وبركاته اللهم وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي والإمام القائم صاحب العصر والزمان الأمان 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 من زوال الإيمان وفتن الزمان عجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله مخرجه وجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والذابين عنه والمسارعين إليه في قضاء حوائجه والمستشهدين بين يديه جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته صلوات الله